It's also budgeted, obviously, the officer that would be hired to be at a lower rate, a starting rate, as opposed to the officer who had 7 years on the department, who was not hired rate.
Do you need an answer on that today, or the finance committee would have to review that?
Well, we had our meeting last night and it briefly came up and, the whole committee talked with Dee and Eugene about, as we look at 2019, we want to make sure that we have some reserves to roll over to 2019 and we start doing some real work on the tax rate and getting that tax rate down. So, every little nickel helps.
This is why I asked whether or not he needs an answer on that, and I think we have to study that a little bit closer.
Well, I would agree, and I think that Mike brings up a good point, because Mark and Michael and I discussed it last night. And, we were also paying attention to the management report, and trying to match some of the processes that we're going to go through in order to effectuate the recommendations that were made in that report. And we know we don't have to effectuate all of them, but we do have to make sure that we study them carefully before we roll. Because just said we're going to start working on next year's budget, and Councilman Ballard expressed his concern that what the tax rate would be next year. All of us.
To answer your question, Mayor, I don't need an answer to that. I think it might be helpful to have discussions between
And that's what I was getting at,
the
yeah.
finance committee for other options to save money.
Okay, great.
Without eliminating the position.
Appreciate that.
But still make a savings, so. But the dispatch position would be a little.
That's not a problem. Thanks, Peter.
So Bank Street Signer, one of the things earlier, the chief and the code enforcement officer and I met to discuss some options for Bank Street, because as everybody knows, we've heard some concerns about parking there, especially unsafe parking. So one of the things that we were looking at, how can we clean up the parking issue over on Bank Street? And one option might be to have limited parking restrictions, a 2-hour parking restriction on there during the day, let's say between the hours of 9 and 5 or 8 and 6. So that way, the police can ensure that vehicles that are just left there for such a long period of time are not remaining and proving to be either an eyesore or a safety issue for the residents of that neighborhood.
So, if I can jump in here, so we had this come up maybe a year or two ago when I was on the parking committee. And the tricky part about putting 2-hour limits on the residential areas is that some people have, a barbecue in the afternoon or something, and then they have friends visit. And then all of a sudden, people are getting ticketed, and we have residents calling saying, my son parked in front, or my family came by, or friends came by. And then we end up getting more flack from residents saying, this is my nephew's car outside, he just got a ticket, he's parking outside of my house. So I think 2-hour parking in residential areas is actually called more grief to the borough than it would be helpful. I'm trying to think of another way that we can maybe help solve that issue. We've talked about this before, I remember that.
Right, and one of the other things that came up in Public Works was perhaps doing alternate side, so that vehicles have to move, on a weekly or more often basis, and you create the ability to clean that side of the street, where the sweeper would have to go around parked vehicles and not affect the whole side.
We explored all those options. We did look at those. That's the one we came because we thought that was the best one. The alternate side, that's probably going to be something maybe either larger than just one street. If we were going to use that rationale for that one street, then why doesn't it apply to alternate side parking? Why doesn't it apply for other streets where the DPW needs to clean the streets? That's the reason why that was, while it needs to be looked at borough-wide for addressing the issue on Bank Street, we didn't think that would be appropriate for isolating that just one street. But the issue of 2-hour parking, again, Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 to 5, let's say those are work hours. If somebody's having a barbecue or you're having a gathering, you park at 3, you're still fine, technically. But it makes sure that the police are able to enforce against vehicles parked for a long term.
But the other option is to, instead of 2 hours, you do 4 hours.
Yeah,
That's the
up
easy
the hours.
option.
Regardless of a limit on hours though, I mean, I lived on Wallace Street, my wife now, we had 2 cars, we had 1 parking spot behind. I always park my car in front. If I was working from home, I'm in violation of the ordinance, even though that's parking, I mean, am I supposed to just move my car then? I got a residence
Go
here.
out, you pull it forward.
Yeah, so when we're not chalking tires, it's like, how do I prove it?
Well, they do chalk tires. The police department does occasionally chalk, check parking does chalk tires in certain cases.
All right, but the point is, I went and got a resident permit stickers, because those signs say 2-hour parking on Wall Street to avoid RBC kids parking there, but I got a residence, what's to prevent this homeowner from going to get a residence?
Well, that's not gonna be permitted. That's not part of it. It's just a 2-hour,
There's no
whatever hour.
resident exception.
There's no exception to that. And look, this is just an idea to deal with the issue on Bank Street. The residents there are the ones complaining about it. So if they want us to do something, we're trying to come up with an option here. If they are unhappy with that, well then, vehicles are gonna be continuing to park there for as long as they want.
I get the, obviously, the intent is great, but I just think the execution is going to be difficult, because the police right now really aren't, we're not looking to ticket cars for parking, that's under DPW.
We would work in conjunction with
Right.
the parking department, the parking
Because,
authority.
I mean, obviously, all the parking, we're obviously usually busy around Monmouth and Broad and West Front Street, in that more downtown areas, and we are aggressively ticketing residential blocks.
It would give
for-
us the ability to enforce if a complaint is received.
Right.
We would be
So-
hoping for voluntary cooperation
Would be
of our
like
residents.
something longer, like, like the mayor's point, 4 hours, maybe even something.
Maybe before a 9 to 5, 4 hours,
Right.
you're pretty much leaving a 1-hour window.
It would be difficult to execute that because the parking authority would have a minute to drop on those tires.
Right.
So before they were not in violation again. Something less than 4 might work great, but
I'm curious why it's only Bank Street, because I can
That's-
name another 10 streets off the top of my head that are narrow, and have cars parked on both
That's a
sides.
street that's been the highlight of
How about
United
South
Nation. Well, that's the street that's been the highlight of nationwide news and.
we receive a lot of complaints about Bank
And
Street.
a place where we've
Okay,
had
but I-
residents come to the council to talk about that. It hasn't been as vocal elsewhere.
So we don't care about the other.
We do, but we're
Well,
trying
then it
to.
should be borough-wide. I mean, we should not restrict it to one street.
Yeah, I
just think
One
it's
resident.
right in town.
Well, there are many streets that have this
Like South Pearl is a
limitation.
nightmare.
No, that street does not. I'm not sure, I don't do a lot of overtime parking, but as Councilman Keller said, Wallace Street has it, there's a lot of residential streets that do have this
Yeah.
restriction. It's not the only street we would be doing.
Right.
There's probably 15 other streets in town that
I
have
would suggest if we did alternate sign rule that it would be more broadly applied on this.
Yeah, alternate would be, that's why I was saying it wouldn't work in this case, but if we wanted to, I know DPU does advocate for that in order to ensure street cleaning around the borough. But right now, this was something that came up and, we're trying to address what came up. Residents say the borough's not doing anything and we're trying to do something about the street. As the chief said, other streets do allow for it, so it's not, we're not trying to single out any one street. It's just, this is the one that came up and we want to do something. But if there isn't consensus to proceed with it, then that's
So
fine.
Michael's point too, I mean, it becomes an enforcement issue.
That's
You
the
know,
bigger part.
I mean,
think, is
I live on a dead end now, and I can't tell you if anybody's ever been down my street chalking tires.
No, but
And I've
again,
texted, I've taken pictures of vehicles that have been there for a week.
Sure, but then now it gives the ability, if somebody complains,
It's still not-
if somebody files a complaint,
A lot of our ordinances are reactive, and
Right.
we're not out there strictly enforcing them, but when we get the complaint, we have an ability, we have something to enforce.
Right, I'm pointing, I guess, with that is just, let's not drain our resources to enforce.
no,
it.
we wouldn't, right, no, that's not the intent. It's again, just to be able to have a tool for parking police to enforce should a complaint come in. But again, it's just an idea.
I'm fine with that. There's-
We're not looking for immediate action, of course,
Residents
no,
are
you know.
complaining about it because it's a quality of life issue. I mean, other streets, you can start hearing the.
I just think the first resident that gets a ticket for parking outside of their house is gonna call the borough, and we're gonna have significantly bigger headaches from residents that are getting tickets for literally parking in front of their own home on a street that really isn't one that's used to walk from downtown. Obviously, you're gonna get neighboring streets like near Oakland that are people parking there to go into for the restaurants or the theaters, but you have some residential blocks that no tourist people are going in there to walk all the way to the downtown, and those are the ones that we don't want to obviously start aggressively enforcing on residents.
I don't think the parking authority enforces any of the residential areas that aggressively. It's
Right.
more, and most of them were in place, the mayor remember, because of nearby bus stops for city buses going into New York City. that, not our city buses, but the ones going into the city where people would park there, and to make life better for the residents,
that's
they
what my
put it in place. And then we don't necessarily get that many residents because people voluntarily cooperate after a few months, and after a couple of tickets.
Maybe we just do a little more digging into this and see if that's the best. Figure out what
We could. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be a policy decision by
Yeah.
the council.
And that's what we're looking for,
Let's
should
talk
we
about
draft
it
that ordinance or
internally,
not,
but
so.
we have done it in other streets, and frankly, the biggest complaint on Wallace Street is that we don't enforce it, and residents can't park on their streets because people who are working in the offices who don't want to pay the meters are parking on Wallace Street and Liberty Place, so.
And in other areas of town, you have, we've had issues in the past with postal
Sure,
workers,
absolutely.
parking,
Hudson Avenue,
high
yeah.
school students parking, and all of that kind of stuff, so it's,
It's not
the
just
chief-
that.
The chief knows that, how complicated it is, it has been over the course of the years. And I think to Michael's point, that we're looking at one street in a residential neighborhood that, I fully support an alternate side of the street plan that could be phased in borough-wide. I think that makes it equitable.
Well, does everybody, I mean, that's another thing, since it's on that,
Yeah, I
I'm
think
hearing a lot of
sense.
concurrence on that.
I think that addresses multiple issues, that gives you the street cleaning issue, addresses.
And it gives you
cars that
enforcement
safe. It addresses community issues, yeah.
Either 9 AM or something's got to be moved by, that's usually what it is in there.
So should we work on drafting an
Or
alternate
between
side?
10 and 11.
Right,
you know.
yeah.
I think it's right for discussion, and why not?
Yeah, I think before you start saying, let's do it borough-wide, just remember, we are a municipality that's developed over very tight streets and high density, especially right around the downtown. And if you tell people overnight that you can only park on one side of the street on Wednesdays and Fridays versus Tuesday and Thursdays, you're going to have a bunch of people with some rooms because they're going to say, well, I'm too old to walk 2 blocks the other way. And by the way, when you do that, you're reducing the availability of parking in those tight streets. I'm talking about Liberty Place, I'm talking about Wallace, I'm talking about Mechanics. It becomes a problem. So let's take a look at it a little bit harder because you have to take a look at a map and you have to really be on the ground. You just can't say we're going to have alternate side of the street. For some,
No one's saying that, Aaron. Just the purpose of these workshop meetings, again, is to flesh these things out. We can keep kicking the can down the road with things, right? But that's what's been happening. We say, we're going to get to this, we're going to get to this. So what I'm trying to get from the council is policy direction, and what we'll go from here is to say to the chief and to parking and traffic, come up with a plan. So we don't have a plan, but we need to know, should we proceed with putting together that plan? And that's what I'm looking for right now. Should we proceed with that kind of a plan?
Well, I agree with you, I don't want to kick the cat in the road, but sometimes no government action actually might be the best option. So in this case, I think doing nothing actually might work in our favor, but obviously I agree with what the nature of what you're saying.
Or if you're saying no action, that's fine, but these issues keep recurring, that's the problem is. I talk to department heads and members of council, everybody says, well, we've talked about this, what's the direction? Are we gonna put it to bed, or are we gonna proceed with trying to plan it out?
Chief, I was told that there was a state ordinance that if a vehicle isn't moved in 48 hours, you can tow it.
We have an abandoned.
Abandoned vehicle,
well,
yes.
you
But it's
pose
supposed
a
to be.
legal definition of abandoned vehicle. You just can't say that a vehicle is abandoned if it hasn't moved in 48 hours.
there's
The person
state-
could be
Well,
sick.
we have a local ordinance on that too.
But
We have a local ordinance.
for example, there's a lot of people, getting back to the guy who works at home and doesn't move his car.
Yeah.
From a practical standpoint, if we get a complaint about a car that's been there over 48 hours, we run the plate. If it belongs to the house it's parked in front of, we typically don't tow the guy's car away. It's his car in front of his house. So it's normally, somebody who left the area or it was a car that was dumped there, and then we tow it. And even then, we usually try to get in touch with the owner
That's
first.
not a solution.
So, Lee, I appreciate you bringing this to the forefront and needs to be addressed, but I don't think we're gonna all agree right here, right now, what the solution is, so. Let's,
Let's keep on discussing.
we gotta discuss it more, but it's at the forefront of our minds, and we'll come to it.
Mr. Nelson's fire. Thanks, chief. Fire chief?
Good night, Chief.
The fire chief does have a resolution that will be coming out for the 9/12 meeting, that's for the authorization of leases for the various firehouses. It's the annual contribution by the borough to the fire department lease. Question in there?
No.
Okay, next. Chief, this is the report.
Excellent report.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chief.
The only comments I'd like to make is, one, I want to point out, we just wrapped up with the final touches on our first grant application with Millennium. The work with them is great. It's a $19,000 grant just for some of the radios that are multi-town capable and front radio system in town. The second grant application we have coming up is for the Leary Foundation for the emergency bailout. It's for Marine firefighters to take a trap in a second-story building. So that's another one that's also very valuable. We talked about those in the years. This grant helps us get into the night. The one thing coming up since this report is I started the ISO survey with the insurance agents, so it rates the town, coordinating with DPW, police, and fire department as well. It's been lacking for a while, so we're working with that, and that's looks like it's going to be a good project. Other departments are cooperating with us already. And then the last thing is, for some time, Engine 96 is an apparatus that was purchased with a 20-year life expectancy. It was then extended to 25 years, and it's coming up on 27. And I know the members of Westside Rose Company and John Chris 96 have made some appeals for a bond issue to fund that new truck. I'd like to ask the Finance Committee to start on that project, to review that, and get the ball rolling on that for two reasons. One is converting to that apparatus, which goes from an engine to a plinth, which is a combination engine ladder apparatus. That's the working proposal at this point. It allows us to do two things. One is position a ladder on the west side of town, which we don't have right now. And there's a railroad going right through town, so it's kind of important for that. And second, facilitating that allows us to actually reduce our apparatus inventory by one more piece. Because we'll relinquish one ladder from the east side of town without needing to replace it. So we'd actually get one replacement that would take away two apparatus. So it brings our inventory down one more, which is part of the goal of this allocation. Finally, and I don't know the hot points for this ISO survey, but I did read in the materials that the agent did prepare for, that an agent inventory in the apparatus and friendly agreements, so that information here like that.
So, is the new apparatus included in the capital budgeting that you went?
In the draft proposal, yeah. So we're going to come to you with the draft of the items in there. Is there a sentiment one way or the other in support of that apparatus or against it?
I mean,
Yeah,
I definitely would support looking into it, but I think also, Chief, what I think would be important, obviously, for the last few years, we've been working on the consolidation and the overview of the entire department. I think a big selling piece or point of this is what the department will look like in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, and how this move today, obviously, I understand we're lowering an apparatus in the grand scheme of things, but from a public perspective, buying another truck in, times that Red Bank Borough Financial is going through, as Councilman Ballard said, from the financial department, I think is important that we kind of get out what the goal of the department is going forward. Because if we piece together what our outlook is going forward, I think that'll be helpful. Start with the capital conversation.
The process, frankly, we started a number of years ago, was aided by Councilman himself, is going in the direction of a planning perspective where, because of the geographic limitations that the borough was faced with, the railroad tracks essentially splitting us, and we want equal protection for all of our residents, and we're looking for equality of equipment on both sides of town as well. That is the goal, and attaining that goal, and you and I both talked about and acted on, it does call for consolidation of companies, it calls for the merger of some of the companies as one Red Bank volunteer fire department, which is really what we are. So this goes towards it, but I think to Michael's point, we have most of these projects take about years, my recollection is correct. From establishment of the truck committee, to meeting with the other companies, to making sure that whatever trucks that the truck committee focuses on is available in the RFP market. Then they meet with then they have to meet with people, make sure that they can use it because it's all new. But then the borough has to take a look to see how many pieces of equipment can the borough of Red Bank really sustain now that we have a comprehensive fire department. So I think we're moving forward, but as Michael said, a lot of the pieces of the equation are still moving. The truck committee, the department, the executive council, West Side Hose, the chiefs coming now and also in the future to sit down with the fire committee and the finance committee and really come up with a plan, but it's got to be strategized to move it better. But this is the first step.
Right, I think this got part of the probably that's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, in the management report, it was recommended that we adopt the chief's consolidation plan.
That's what I was
I
talking
think that is a good methodology going forward, and I think Stu just made a point that this apparatus will help sort of balance the other pieces of equipment that are aging as we go forward. It's going to take time to transition.
Well, and your point, also with, obviously with, the closure of relief, a lot of those members have gone over to the West Side Hose. So you have now a stronger West Side Hose where if you're able to put this piece together, then it really builds the Mary's point that, equal size and having the appropriate equipment for safety. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Simple question on limitations. The proposed apparatus, will it physically fit in the building that we have? Because I know that's an issue.
That's to be determined.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, we don't want to say, let's go gung ho,
Yeah.
buy the apparatus, and then find out we got to do $100,000 worth of repairs to the building.
That's already on the record.
about.
Yeah, that's already on the
Truck
record.
committee.
I guess the question really is, will the apparatus that fit serve the needs? We have to make sure.
So, did I understand correctly, a new apparatus would replace two?
Right, as part of the consolidation plan, we have two ladders on the west, or here, we have two ladders on the east side of town, two engines on the west side of town. There's others as well, these are the four effective. This would allow us to eliminate a ladder on the east side of town and eliminate an engine on the west side of town, replaced with the engine/ladder combination. So we go from 4 to 3 in that little subset of the department.
Is there any recognition value for
The ladder on the east side of town is well beneath its useful life, so it would have some values, but I can't estimate what used equipment. But it wouldn't be salvage, it would be a solution.
Yeah.
Sometimes the companies you buy them from too will trade them in, they'll take it, I'm sure they'll give you some discount off the purchase.
It would be nice to know, what we could possibly do in that sense.
Yeah, we have a long history of selling our fire trucks. Some of that history good, some of it bad. As Seabright will attest. Right, Chief?
Thank you, Steve.
All right.
Thanks, Chief. Fire Chief. Thanks.
Under public utilities, no ordinances or resolutions there, but we do have a couple discussion action items. Cliff did submit a report, just go over some highlights for you. And the one item, sort of FYI, there is a parking study kickoff community meeting as part of the parking study report that was in my section of the club on the agenda. It's coming up September 24th, I believe, and that's in collaboration with River Center. We've got Jim Scupone and Steve Tanya there. That's going to be a forum for Walker to communicate with the public, gain some input, and present the plan. So everybody from the public is invited, and that's on our website as well. Okay.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to point out a couple things. We have been down 4 people throughout the summer. And the patients or all 4 medical issues to disability. We've kept up, I think, with what we're trying to do, our goal there. And in May, we did lose a body from Health Utilities. We are going to move forward on replacing that body, so make sure that that's
and you guys volunteer.
Yes, correct, that's correct. We're able to streamline some processes and eliminate some of the responsibilities, with responsibilities that we've worked out very successfully. I want to mention that there is our second trap neuter release meeting, a public meeting on September 13th, the day after the council meeting, I believe. The first one very well, but it was very limited in attendance. It was in the middle of July, and we had played a part of the attendance, so we want to make sure we're letting our residents know how to handle community cats and what to do with those. We're partners of the Monmouth County SPCA, and they have a wonderful program that's working out very well.
Can I just animal licensing,
Well, they're due for renewal the first of the year. They're late March 1st.
yeah, you would put out a notice that says animal licenses.
We usually put it on the website the first of the year, just to remind people that they have until March to get it. And we try to do letters to everybody who has a license to remind people.
Certainly remind people that.
Yeah, now, this is they targeted at pet ownership and it applies, I feel really bad kind of pushing it now because it's going to expire so they're all due in January and it just goes to January, so.
No problem. The building section, we've discussed enough today. That's, parking utility, again, we've talked about the parking study and how we're pushing forward with that. I want to mention parking. We also have 2 part-time enforcers who started on August 16th. So if you've been parking on this
Call it community relations officer.
if you've been parking in a spot that you know is illegal and haven't been ticketed in a little while, that's because we've been short-staffed. They are finding people and they're issuing a lot of tickets. So we should see a revenue boost from that as well. I definitely want to bring up the installation of the bottle refill stations. The environmental committee worked very hard to get a sustainable New Jersey grant. We finally worked it out with the manufacturer. They're in the process of being made right now. And we'll have water refill stations at Riverside Gardens, Johnny Johnson Park, and Count Basie Theater. Count Basie Park, Count Basie Park, as well as Eastside Park as that project goes on. And I definitely want to say that we Kate and Pat, the entire environmental committee, and then Kate and MP did on the artwork is absolutely amazing. It's driving me. If anyone wants to see it, this is the original artwork, which was a huge part of the $10,000 grant we received. So there's front and back and a couple different copies there. Okay. In the recycling section, I just want to remind you that plastic bags are no longer permitted in the recycling stream. And that is not a Red Bank decision, that is a Monmouth County decision. It's been hitting people all over the state, actually. And we've recently had an uptick in complaints. So I'm not sure if that's come across to you yet, but it may very well, where people, I guess, didn't realize they weren't supposed to put bags in there and now they're finding it out. So just a quick reminder.
Cliff, do you know if, I know for instance, Food Town collects them, like plastic shopping bags, do you know if they're still continuing that? I don't know what they do with them, to be honest.
I'm not aware of that. We were told the recycling board here probably has a handle exactly what's going on there. But
I always forget to bring them there, which is
question.
why I always remember it, and I go, I should have done that.
Yeah.
Well, when we first got involved with the plastic bag collection point, Food Town was giving you back 2 or 3 cents.
Yeah,
They stopped that.
And they stopped that.
Right.
I don't remember seeing a container.
I don't-
If you go to Whole Foods, they have all of the reuse things. I don't remember seeing them in Food Town.
They had a big one by the one column that you have to check out, and I always see it as I'm leaving.
Bring,
17
remember,
bags.
bring them here. Or to public works.
Okay. So I'm going to move on to streets and roads real quick. Brush removal is occurring on schedule. So if you see the brush starting to accumulate a little bit, it is because we have a schedule and we will be following that. That hasn't happened over the last 2.5 years. We've been picking up brush as we see it. But in order to move forward in departments, we absolutely have to adhere to the schedule. At some point, we'll be talking to code enforcement about how to move forward, let residents know. the second week, and the third week, all the information is available on the website on how to brush correctly. Street sweeping is happening daily. We're 3 days a week in the business district. Every morning, 4 in the morning, we're out there doing that. The other big item here is street sign replacement. Anyone who's been to Powerhouse Signs has seen a huge amount of street signs sitting there waiting for us to have the hardware. Eugenia was able to secure our membership in the Somerset County Co-op through a resolution you guys passed. They approved us, I believe it was last night. if I'm correct. Yeah. And we should be getting the hardware ordered and started to install. My crew is ready to go, so as soon as we have the hardware, we will begin installing.
Cliff, just to follow up, Pam was kind enough to, well, we do have an ordinance since 2009 on plastic bags. It's all just any plastic bag we were doing outside commercial centers, they have to have a recycling plastic bag containers.
Everyone who hands out plastic
Everybody
bags
hands them out,
have
has to have it. But that begs the other question, not for tonight, but for the future. The council should really consider in the future, not tonight, and give it some serious thought. 16 municipalities in our own county have taken the threshold of addressing the issue of plastic waste and the harmful effects that it does on our environment, and we are a river community. And so I know we faced the issue and we cowed to a lot of pressure some years ago, but I think that now that the world is changing, we have to look at that issue in terms of plastic bags in our community and in our stream of commerce. Again, not tonight, but again, we can't say let the state do it. 16 towns in Mullen County have already addressed it. I think we have to give it some hard thought. We really have to make some critical decisions for our future.
Crosswalks.
Excuse me, but I
Yes.
just have a question about the signs, because I know a lot of them are stolen. Is there a system where they?
It's a very good
just
question.
get-
The hardware that we are purchasing, that we needed to become members of the Somerset County Co-op to get, are longer pieces of hardware with special screws in them that don't allow you to take them off without a special screw removal. So, can they be stolen? Yes. But short of cutting down the pole at this point, I'm hoping that eliminates some of it.
Get any ideas?
No, I'm not saying it won't happen, but we've tried to eliminate that.
And I'm sorry, before you move on, this has been one of my pet peeves for years, Red Bank, that there are so many signs missing in our town. So I'm so happy to see that. These look reflective. Are they reflective at night so that they pop out?
They are, that is correct.
That's awesome.
It's reflective and it is coated with a UV protecting so that we don't have to take care of them again. We're going to have to replace them eventually. They will eventually fade, but it should take a substantial amount of time.
Thank you.
Okay. Crosswalks are being painted. You may have seen them out in the neighborhood. The crosswalks are starting to pop out a little bit more in anticipation of school. And my crew has done a really great job. We have a new paint machine, and they're really excited to get those done. They're working on those. East Bergen is under construction. As you know, we understand that it's causing some delays for some people. We know that there's some dust issues, but we're working on those things. And then the last big item that I want to definitely point out is something that I know I've been trying to work on for 3 years. Is that irrigation meters are now available to the public, and we have a process for installing them. The first piece of it is that the homeowner has to acquire a plumber to install the meter and a plumbing permit from the construction department. A license.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Not your license.
Right, exactly. If you'd like more information, you give us a call down to Public Works. We can send you an email with a step-by-step process. Speak to me outside. I can forward it right over to you.
We're going to start advertising that on the website in September, 2 days, but just wanted to make sure that you were all aware of what's been going on. DPW has been working to implement this process. We're talking about how it's going to impact finances. One of the things that we have to take into consideration is that it may affect revenues the following year. So we wanted to make sure that when we rolled it out this year, it was a deliberate and well thought out plan. But when we go into the budget process for next year, that's something that we just have to be mindful of, that summer projections and summer usage is going to be
I wanted to thank Cliff and the team for willfully giving up a body and not replacing it.
They didn't have a choice, Council President. They didn't have a choice.
Yeah, they did. They did, because it's budgeted, as we've heard, you know. But and I know Michael has been, Michael has been
The council
the keeper
rep
of
was pitching in.
the keeper of the dollars here. But thank you. I know it's a hardship on some of this field. But it's from putting my finance committee down. Appreciate it.
You don't give us rights. There was no other choice. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know it's just pull up.
Yeah, we're waiting on the CA, the state. Somerset approved us August 14th. Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. August 15th, the Somerset County Court approved us, and they had said that the state, we're still waiting on the state to get back. So hopefully, any day now, I know Eugenia's been pressing it non-stop.
Okay, I know we've been sitting here for 2 hours. We're going to take a brief 3-minute break. 5, okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Over 5 minutes.